Well, hello, all you beautiful fuckers. Jackson here today with my little brother Chubbz.
Hello, everyone.
And today we are here to recommend The Witcher on Netflix, which is it's the new television series starring Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. And it's been announced for a while now, and we've finished watching it, but when I first heard that Henry Cavill was playing Geralt and they showed that picture where he looked like Raiden, I was like, this is going to be a fucking disaster, dude.
It looked bad.
And like, to be fair, there's some parts of the show that I still have my issues with. And I have a few, like, picadillos here and there. Nitpicks, whatever, what have you. But overall, none of them involve Henry Cavill or his depiction of Geralt. Like,
at all.
I really dig everything he's doing with the character. I dig that the character is, you can tell that this guy wanted to do a good job. And he wanted to do a good job because, in my opinion, I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And even as Superman, like, I don't like Superman the movie, and I don't like Batman versus Superman, and I don't like Justice League. But I'll say the same thing about Ben Affleck and Gadot, or whatever her name is. Gal Gadot.
And the guy who played Aquaman.
Yeah, the
Jason
fucking
Momoa.
the guy who fucks horses in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo, yeah.
But either way, like that, like, I don't feel like those movies are bad because of anyone's performance.
Right.
I think it's just one of those situations where it's just I don't even want to talk about those films.
It's like the Suicide Squad cast. The same thing can be said there.
Yeah, it's
there's
like
a
Will
slew
Smith.
Of movies, yeah.
Like, there's nothing Will Smith is in that I'm like, I hate this because Will Smith is in it.
Right.
It's like, I hate stuff Will Smith is in, but he's never the reason.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And so, Henry Cavill, I didn't really ever get the chance to see that sort of, like, performance from him where I was like, he gives a shit. Because even with Superman, it's just like...
the talent.
Like, the thing about Superman...
In a movie where you actually give a shit and where you can actually see his talent, kind of shine
because
through.
As far... to my knowledge, the only thing I've ever seen Henry Cavill play in is Superman.
Right.
Playing as Superman.
And that's same for me, too.
Yeah. And the thing about Superman, the Man of Steel, whatever... I think Superman is just a bad character. I don't want to piss off anybody if you love Superman or not. I have my reasons, though.
Right.
To me, he's just like, he's the ultimate character. Like, how do you make a character that can't feel pain or fear or anything like that because he is the Superman? How do you make him relatable to the audience? And with Superman, I always felt like, I liked the cartoon show that had come out on WB around the same time as the Batman. Was it in the 90s?
No.
The one with, like, the Mask of Phantasm was a movie for Batman.
Right, yeah.
But they had like a Batman versus Superman one.
Right.
And they did, like, a whole bunch of stuff there that I watched that I really liked. But, like, to me, I've never been the biggest Superman fan. And the way he decided, and by he, I mean Zack Snyder, the way he depicted Superman and had Henry Cavill to pick Superman, to me, was unconvincing. I didn't feel like, I don't know, they tried to do this whole, like, sympathetic angle with the dead dad, Kal-El, and all of this, but it's like, you're Superman, dude. Like, you're not supposed to be dark and brooding. Like, you're supposed to be the optimistic, like, we can do anything, because you can do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you have cold breath and laser eyes, dude.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, that's the only thing and so, seeing that and knowing that, it makes sense that when, like, they revealed Henry Cavill as Geralt, I was apprehensive. I was like, oh, Jesus, Chubbz, right. This is probably going to be
And then they
piece
show
of
that
shit.
picture, and it has him in the Witcher wig, and it legit looks like
it
Raiden
looked very cheap.
From
It
Mortal
does not
Kombat.
look the way, yeah, it looked like that was almost like a, pre-production makeup.
Right, like, just they slapped it on him, and they were
like, let's take a picture, and fucking, yeah. But Geralt of Rivia is an awesome character, and I enjoy the Witcher series. Like, I haven't read the books, but I've played midway through the first game. I've probably a little over midway through the second game. My problem was when I started those games, I started 1 and I was like, I had already started 2 because I owned 2 before I owned 1 because they gave it to me in a deal. I bought something from them from GOG and they just threw it in a package for me. And so I had played and I had not gotten past the intro in Witcher 2. Like, not the intro, but like the intro area, that forest. Yeah, the forest with the elves and all that shit going on. So I hadn't gotten through that. So I was like, I just kind of want to play that because of the controls and the camera and the clunkiness of The Witcher 1. Then when I started playing Witcher 2, I got probably about a little after midway through the game. I was like past the part where, and I forget, it gets hazy now.
Right.
But I was well past the forest area with Triss. I had done all that. I was doing stuff, and I remember there was like a cottage or something going on, but I remember there was this pop-in with the grass and other things.
Yeah, that was one thing that I didn't like about it.
Fucking super noticeable, and just I remember just thinking while I was playing it, I was having a hard time getting into it because I was like, I just want to play The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Because The Witcher 3 is just such a fucking excellent RPG game. Like, the experience of The Witcher 3 is like stepping into a choose-your-own-adventure book that exists within a fully developed and realized world.
Right.
Because there's NPCs doing things everywhere. There's all sorts of little nooks and crannies to go discover. And even with my 400 plus hours in that game, I probably still, to this day, have not explored the entire map.
Right.
And seen everything there is to be seen.
Every option of every single dialogue that there is to be seen. Yeah.
Because even on my my fourth playthrough, was my last playthrough, I played it through completely 4 times. Except for the Blood and Wine and the Hearts of Stone. I've only done those twice. But the part where you have the chance to go do the Blue Boy, spoilers, there's a Blue Boy logo. Lugos?
Blue Boy Lugos?
I think it's his son. It's Madman Lugos' kid.
Yeah.
But there was like a side quest that I had never done.
Yeah.
Where I was like tripping on mushrooms and helping him with his. Yeah, it was
that
like
was,
a spirit journey.
That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was way cool.
That was wicked.
And that's the thing, is like the amount of detail and care and things given to each quest to make it as cinematic and immersive as possible is above and beyond when it comes to The Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah.
And The Witcher 3 was my first introduction to the franchise at all.
Right, same here.
We hadn't read the books, we hadn't played Witcher 1 or 2, but just stepping into Witcher 3 with the extensive book and the way that they set up the characters and played everything out, it's like I was able to understand and follow all the events in the game.
Right.
And of course I didn't get out of it, like there's Fringilla and there's some other mages or sorceresses and wizards and other characters
that carry over from the books. Yeah.
That you would get more, and from the first 2 games.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
There's like complete carry over your save from Witcher 2 to The Witcher 3, and those events affect, like, what's his name? The assassin from the first one.
The cat school witcher.
Yeah. Oh my god. Leto? I think it's Leto or Letho. It's either Letho or
One
Leto.
of those two. Those sound.
But yeah, that bald prick, he's either alive or dead in your game based on either your load from The Witcher 2 or you have a chance to do dialogue. Yeah, which is cool because it's like a whole questionnaire that I did, not understanding what was going on.
And it pretty much emulates the decisions that you made in the past game.
And it's cool as hell.
And it implements them into your save file.
Yeah, and that's just a great game. And so, moving into the show, I've got the reason we trail into the game and stuff is because we want to just kind of display that we are massive fans of this universe, this character, these characters, and we haven't read the books.
Right.
We've played through most of the games. Witcher 3 I've played fucking extensively.
Yeah.
Extensively. And you have as well. And so we wanted this show to be good, really good. And
but
we have some friends who
we're
are the
worried
same way.
about things. When you're talking about shit in pre-release, like, and you're showing that picture of Henry Cavill, and there's like all this certain, and not only that, but just the state of Hollywood of current
and
things
Netflix
being pumped
especially,
out.
Because Netflix has this fucking forced diversity thing that leads to very shallow, bare bones characters that exist just because they need a gay, this, a that, or whatever.
Or the other.
Yeah, character to fit into the show.
Right.
Because it's like this idea that it's so shallow and surface deep, and it comes through in the entertainment. When there's characters that you are surface deep, and you just know this character's here to be that.
Right.
Right? And when you hear that, like, they're talking about they're going to cast a black girl for Siri, it's not even the problem that the people have that it's a black girl. It's that it's Siri.
Right.
And the audience has... Here's
character.
the thing. You're accepting a property that is already relevant and worth a purchase because it's established and it has an established fan base, and you know there's interest in this product, right? So why then take that product and change it? And Netflix has a fucking history of doing that.
Yes.
Death Note, fucking... There's been a lot of them taking IPs and just making shitty things out of them.
Yeah.
Like, and by changing
true
things.
To the source
yeah,
material.
because that's the thing. Don't change anything. That's the thing. Like, it's big for a reason.
The source material is good enough.
I love that Adam actually said that about the Death Note movie.
Right.
And he's like, and it fits for everything. If you buy something and you change it and make it worse, what was the point of fucking buying it to begin with?
Yeah.
Right? It's like
you pissed away money.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars. Look what Disney did with Star Wars. They did not have a plan. They did not have a cohesive vision. Someone with a fucking a Paul Feige or someone in the background finding the right talent to do the right things. And even there's movies within the Marvel fucking cinematic universe that ain't that great.
No.
That ain't that great. Ain't even really worth rewatching. But the story carried over and the big ones were good. The big ones counted. The big ones hit you hard where they needed to hit you, and they ended it with a solid note that was good experience for everybody. You look at like this new Star Wars movies, and by all accounts, the Rise of Skywalker, and by all accounts, it gives the middle finger to the fucking Last Jedi the whole goddamn time.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't even have and it's like you have this property, right? And why not find people who respect it and love it to work with it?
Right.
Why are you hiring people who don't give a shit? And that's the thing about Death Note. Like, no one who made Death Note on a production level, a writing level, an acting level, or any other level gave a fuck except for maybe Willem Dafoe. Maybe Willem Dafoe gave a fuck because he was the bright spot in that movie.
Yeah.
Seeing him as that, I can't remember that character's name right now.
The fucking demon.
The
guy.
demon, yeah, I can't remember his name right now. But seeing him as that character, that was worth watching the fucking 40 minutes of it I watched before I shut it off.
The stupidest fucking
just shut
story.
it off. It was like Twilight all of a sudden. I didn't understand what the fuck was happening.
All of a sudden he's showing the
He gives a shit about her?
All of a sudden he's showing the Death Note to this random girl at high school, and she's supposed to be like that pop star.
Yeah, and then it's like he's in love with her, and it's like, no, he didn't give a shit. Light doesn't care. This is dumb.
And this isn't
dumb.
Light.
No,
sorry,
it's not Light.
This isn't Light.
And that's the point. It's like, why buy the property to only then fuck it up?
Yeah.
Right? So Witcher, we're
worried about it.
Yeah, because we're like, oh god, it's
this. They're snagging up every property that they can get. Hollywood has been doing that.
Well, back to this diversity, shallow, deep casting. They did it, but I didn't feel like it really mattered anywhere except for Triss. I feel like Triss is an awful cast. Horrible cast. She's uninteresting to look at. This is one of the primary characters in the game, Sorceress, who is gorgeous enough to fucking take Geralt away from fucking Yennefer, who is fucking solid as fuck.
Yeah.
The actress in this playing Yennefer, 10 out of fucking 10.
Oh,
and it's not even that Triss is a bad actress. It's just she's awful for that part.
Right.
Whoever cast her did her no favors, and they did the show no favors. Because if Triss is going to be as big a part of the fucking continuing stuff as I imagine Triss is...
Because she's a main character.
And she carries over through the games and everything.
Throughout the fucking story.
Then why...
I'm not sure how much in the books, but I'm assuming that she's there.
Yes. And here's the thing. The argument here could be put forth. I was running this through my head when I was thinking about it. And I was like, I just don't like her. I don't like her.
Right.
I have an idea of what Trish should look like, and that's not it.
Yeah.
And Yennefer isn't that it either, but she makes it.
She does.
And maybe it's because she has more screen time.
So she doesn't have the feel of Yennefer, right? But she plays it off. Okay?
Yeah.
Henry Cavill doesn't have the feel of Geralt, but he pulls it off.
Yeah.
Because Geralt, let's be honest, in the books, he's like kind of a shorter, skinnier,
wiry.
stocky.
Yeah,
and Henry Cavill, you got him over there all beefed up,
Superman.
tall as fuck, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's Superman, dude.
But their acting chops is what gets them through
Yeah.
because they are really good in the characters, you know what I mean?
Like, he's channeling Geralt from The Witcher.
Yeah,
like,
and she's channeling Yennefer. It's
Yeah.
like this crazy thing going on screen.
And the thing about... And Ciri
and I
is
like
great.
Ciri. I
Ciri
really
is
like
great.
the girl who played
Yeah,
Ciri. And
she's doing a very
her
good
grandma.
job.
That
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
That actress.
All those
I really
actors
liked her.
there involved in that. The Skelliger, I can't remember his name, but
Oh,
he married...
Mousak,
Yeah.
mage?
Not Mousak,
No.
Not the mage, but he was good too. And you know what? We'll get into that. We'll get into this. We have issues with it. We're recommending it though because it's
We're
fucking
recommending
good.
it because it's really good.
It's worth
Let's
watching.
be honest. As far as fantasy genres, as far as like entertainment, you get what? You get Lord of the Rings.
Like Game of Thrones.
You get Harry Potter, I guess, could be fantasy.
Yeah, Harry Potter definitely falls in.
if
But
it's
that's
in
more
there.
adult. Like that.
But
that's more
like
young adult. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but then you have like, okay, what was it? Game of Thrones? You just
Yeah.
said that. But then was really good and had a really good start. And then about halfway through the show, you just start to wonder where it's going to go.
And
What is your plan? And then by the end, you're just like, you had no fucking plan, assholes. Thanks for fucking wasting all my
Those two
time.
fucking guys. And they offered him more time. They
Oh, yeah.
offered him more time. What
yeah.
the fuck is your problem?
They were like, we got fucking signed on to the next Star Wars
There
trilogy. We're just going to wrap this up and then
There
go
were-
be Ryan Johnson.
So there were a lot of things that like salted the wound. But what broke my camel's back and busted me like out of that show's universe and completely took me out of it. And like it was already happening because it was this episode where they like their strategy was fucking just bad. I can't remember what episode it is precisely, but it's the one with the dark lit battlefield. Because they didn't want to have fires. Because fuck having fires.
The War
fuck
of the
having
White
a trench in
Walkers, that
front of
one?
your fucking catapults.
The War
fuck
of the
all
White
of this. Yeah,
Walkers?
yeah. Anyway, but the point in that show where they tried to make Melisandre, is that her fucking name? The dumb fucking redheaded bitch?
I think that's it.
That chick was a bitch. I hated that character. She burned children alive.
People. Innocent people.
Yeah, kids. She sent Stannis and his whole thing, and she was just like doing it as like this power trip for this Lord of Light, who then we're meant to think is a sympathetic character. And she's a sympathetic character, and we are supposed to feel something when she offers herself up in a hero's death. Fuck you two motherfucking hacks. Alright, so Game of Thrones is off the table. So what else we got?
But that's the thing about
There's
fantasy.
not much.
There's not much.
There's the Dark Crystal, which is
The Dark
excellent,
Crystal is
and
excellent,
also on
but
Netflix.
I would say, once again, it kind of fits in the Harry Potter category. Like, more for kids, you know, more for a younger audience.
Man, I wouldn't let my kids watch that. That shit's depressing as fuck.
Not the TV show, but the movie, you know. And then when they
Dude, the movie's depressing as fuck.
well,
It's like a whole metaphor for life and death
Harry
and the ending
Potter-
of all things. And like,
Harry Potter gets dark later on, too. That's why
well, yeah, the books do, but the movies keep it light. I guess it does get pretty dark.
it gets pretty dark.
Dude, fucking...
They get pretty dark.
The thing about Harry Potter is Voldemort is a clown. Like, the character,
Well,
the guy
yeah.
who plays him, I'm sorry, like, the guy who plays him and the way that they made him portray with, like, the CGI effects and shit, like,
Yeah.
I never felt like he was intimidating and oftentimes found myself laughing at his performance. Just
Yeah.
like, okay, dude. Fucking you earned that check, motherfucker. Anyway.
But that's the thing about fantasy. And then another show
So,
that
but
I want to
moving
bring
back, hold on. Let's get back to The Witcher.
Right.
Okay, Triss, the thing I was saying is you could say that, like, there is no portrayal of Triss, and this is based on the book, so this could be their interpretation of what Triss looks like. To that, I would counter that a massive group of people have heard about the books and give a shit about the books because of CD Projekt Red's vision of them portrayed in video game form.
Right.
And I would say that in that essence, in that spirit, you should be looking at that video game and those characters for spiritual fucking inspiration. for your characters. And if you are doing that, then I can see Yen. I can see Henry Cavill as Geralt after watching this show.
Right.
But then I look at this Triss, and I'm like, no, she doesn't cut it. She's ugly. It has nothing to do with anything other than she looks nothing like a gorgeous sorceress who is fucking sexy enough to steal Geralt away from Yen.
Right.
All right. So like, yeah, no, that's not her at all.
No.
And when like Dandelion's great.
Dandelion, Jaskier.
Yeah, Jaskier, but it's Dandelion.
Right, it's Dandelion. It's Dandelion. It's
And then
Dandelion.
they say Dandelion. No,
Poland,
it's fucking Dandelion. All right. Sorry,
he's named after a little yellow flower.
That's how I will say him and refer to him always as Dandelion.
Oh yeah, and I'm not sure if he's the one who sings the songs, but I also want to point out that the soundtrack for this is really good.
Yeah.
There are a couple of the songs where they have the singing. It kind of had that feel with the fucking Terminator trailer where it's like a guy doing breathy whisper sing.
But that was at the end credits, and that was, we could skip it.
Yeah.
But I was like, let's listen to this for a second. I was like, what the fuck is this? It was
pretty funny.
But the Toss a Coin to Your Witcher song is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
It's like gotten old already because of how many times I've seen it posted. Like, I just don't even want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're using it to advertise sales on the game now and shit. Toss a coin to your Witcher in the Humble Bundle. Come on down and toss a coin to your Witcher. And I'm just like, I've gotten to this point where I'm like Scrooge McDuck, and I'm like, we ain't got no need for no witches around here. I'm just that guy. We got no need for no witches. Fuck off, Witcher. Just because it's gotten that point with the posting. And it's just because it's relevant now and they're getting clicks, and so it's like this fucking dude.
And it's a good
cycle.
This cycle. That is one thing that I also want to point out is like one thing that's really good about this show that I felt was it's kind of just laying the groundwork, and it has a disjointed story,
and we talked
but
to a
it
buddy
doesn't
of ours.
like tell you over and over repeatedly. Like I make a comparison here to that show that we watched, How to Make a Murderer.
Oh my god, good call.
Every time there's a flashback sequence, it's like, does this weird little fucking edit chop cut, and then
like
it adds adds a green
shit.
filter, and it's like, now you know we're in the
it's
past.
It's green, dude. It's like the whole goddamn screen
it's
is
the
green.
Hulk green, like Bruce Banner hulked out on screen. But this show, it's disjointed in a way where it's telling a story in different timelines, but instead of like being over exaggerated with this is happening at this time, making sure that
like
you know
10 years ago at this place and this thing.
Like, and just going into spoiler territory here, Yennefer, it starts out with her as like a disfigured mutant freak kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then she gets pulled into the sorceress of Aretuza.
And I have some issues with this. And the thing about this is I talked to one of our buddies about this who has read the books. And he says the books are really short and that there's not a whole lot to go on. But I feel like they could have done more with Yennefer and her like time in the source. What was that, Aretuza?
Yeah, the tower.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done more there and had it feel everlasting, because at a certain point later in the show, we're full blown spoilers now. After a certain point in the show, there's this moment where they kind of have a falling out. And she's like, I gave everything for you. And there's like, and it's like, it's like they have to tell each other like that this is fucked up. Like, because
their motivations
because
on
they
each
weren't,
other's side.
because they weren't able to show us because it was forced. Like it was like almost, it was like she got there. There were a few scenes where she was having a hard time figuring out magic.
Had to, like, not
and
just,
then all of a sudden she ascended.
And it didn't just have to focus on that, because it also had to build her romance with that one guy.
Yeah, there was that whole
and the
bit.
Like relationship between her,
which really didn't go much anywhere, did it? I hope he becomes important later on, because otherwise that just felt like it was, you know what, though? It did give into her character because that guy's cool.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Yennefer, this actress, even when they made her jaw all fucked and added like that growth on her back, the spinal deformity, even with all that, she was a gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
This woman playing, she is gorgeous. Drop dead fucking gorgeous. And it goes into her, like, how she fixes it, and it's like a spell. and she has to give up her uterus, so her ability to have children, she must give up. And it's like watching this, because I always saw people posting and things like that like Yennefer is perfect for Geralt. Who would ever choose Triss? And there was like this whole Triss and Yennefer versus Dill, and it was just like I picked Triss first because like I'd never experienced the game, and they put her before Yen.
Right.
And so like for me, it's like I kind of understand why they did that, because I don't think a lot of people who want to be true to the Witcher's character and his like the story would pick Triss over Yen. Because and watching this, I finally start to understand that, and it does that very well. It shows you that like these are the perfect people for each other.
Yeah.
With the way their temperament is and everything, and you get to see that with Yennefer, where she gets colder and colder and colder, and you start to see her become that tactician we know and love, who's able to move pawns on a board and take care of all sorts of things and be there in the moments when she's needed most to be there.
Exactly.
And you start to see that. But it kind of jumps to that point ahead of her training. And I feel like more could have been done with like showing her start to succeed and showing her start to like, and I think you could have cut out the romance with that guy. Not that that doesn't add to her character and add to the coldness that will eventually come later, but I feel like if I could choose, I'd rather see more of Yennefer learning magic, more of her learning at the reagents and the different rules to it. Because right now all we know is that in order to create magic, and it's like part of chaos, and you have to give something in order to control it. And it's usually something that's life force, that has a life force. And like they take the failed sorceresses and they turn them in ills. And they're basically tossed into what is essentially a mana pool, from what I gather.
Like
it's
like a conduit ritual.
A conduit power, and it's all there in the water, and they're all there, and they're just there to be conduits to be used by the sorceresses.
Right.
And that was cold as fuck.
That was fucking
And like that's
harsh.
what I've always really liked that about The Witcher. And I know that there's some discrepancies with like Elric of Melbourne and it being plagiarized and things like that. I recommend Razorfist videos. I'll have them linked below. I watch them. He makes a very compelling argument.
Right.
But to me, I don't care.
Right.
I feel like that all great fantasy is borrowed from all great fantasy, and it's been a chain of storytellers from the beginning of human history that have slowly, there's a great thesis that was written by J.R.R. Tolkien about that, like fairy stories and like the passing down of it.
Fairy tales.
Yes, and the
shit
passing
like that,
down of it. And like it's fantasy it's started as certain things and slowly evolved into what we have. What we have now. And I like the world of The Witcher because it is very dark, it's very depressing, but it makes sense when you consider like the conjunction of the spheres and all the wicked crazy shit that happens on this planet and all the things that are of a consequence of that thing. And like just the hunt coming through and like everything that's so grim and could happen is like, it's like for real, you could just be walking down. Like that's why I love the Necker part. I didn't really care for the Necker design. Right. I felt like the Neckers were, I don't know, they looked a little bit too much like zombies. Like somebody got zombie happy with the idea of Neckers.
Right.
When in fact, they're more of like a creature less than a fucking, they looked like zombies to me in this.
Right.
It's not to say that I hated it, because I still like
they saved that design for the ghouls.
Yeah.
And the owl ghouls.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something that was more warranted that. But I still feel like that zombie thing is just because it's like someone who's like, oh,
right.
So they eat the dead, so they're like zombies, huh? Yeah. Like just some dumbass producer. That's what I pick. Anyway, but
that's the thing with this show.
But that scene, I really like that scene because it's like a normal guy, a merchant, and he's trying to do good. He's like, he stumbles across this murdered, group of noble people who just like ran away from their, fled their home because their home was getting sacked by Nilfgaardians. And they are just all here wiped out. And that was actually where Ciri had been.
That was Sintra, yeah.
And so, she had been with those people. Oh. That was the lady who got killed by the dwarf for mistreating him and shit. And I liked how they showed that. And I don't know if he was a dwarf or a halfling. Are there halflings in The Witcher?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I know there's dwarfs for damn sure.
Yeah.
But either way. But when that guy murdered her, that was that camp. So he's just trying to be a good, like, person and be like, these people deserve proper rest. Like, let's give them a proper burial. And Geralt's like, you're gonna fucking, you know, and he kind of makes a passing statement like, it's not safe here. We better get out of here. And then you see that guy get attacked by Neckers. Not Neckers.
Neckers, yeah.
Is it Neckers?
I'm pretty sure.
Are they the ones that eat the dead?
They're in the games, they look like swamp monsters, kind of.
I don't think it's, I don't, either way, whatever though, I think those were Neckers, but either way, they didn't really look the same.
Right. Whatever monster it was, it's obviously eats dead flesh.
Yeah, and
it
I'm
could have
pretty
been
sure
ghouls.
that's Neckers.
Could have been ghouls.
Yeah, ghoul, but I'm pretty sure Neckers, like, are the ones that, like, hang out around battlefields and eat the dead.
Right.
But it's like, this guy is immediately like, Geralt has to save him because it's like, that's the kind of world it is. Where you could be just trying to do the right thing and be a good guy and end up getting killed by fucking monsters in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that's, I like the world. I like the dark fantasy. I like Geralt's character with the mutations and, like, the process of becoming a Witcher, the different schools of Witchers. I like the sorceresses, learning more about that.
Hopefully we'll see more of that in the second season, because that's one thing about this season is it feels like it's just building from the ground up. So it's introducing Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. And it's showing these key events that are very momentous to our characters with their history. So you got like Foltest and the Striga with Geralt, right? You have Yennefer and what she was going through with Aretuza and the sorceresses.
You have Ciri's, and that's Emir, and I looked that up because I was like, that's Ciri's dad. He was a fucking porcupine at one, and I didn't like that design.
That episode, that's
I didn't much care.
That's
for that
one
whole,
gripe. Can we talk about that episode real quick? So, real quick, we're gonna build this episode up. The daughter of the Cintran queen, the princess of
Ciri's
Cintra,
mother,
Ciri's mom, she's like having this weird tournament where knights are going there and fighting for her honor to try and ask for her hand in marriage, right? And one of the knights steps up, and this is after this long exchange between Geralt and the queen. And
Geralt ends up there because of Dandelion.
Yeah, like Jaskier's a bard working there doing the songs and entertainment.
And he wanted Geralt there because he's a fucking man whore.
He's a
bodyguard. Fucks a
bodyguard.
lot of noble women, and he's worried that their men are going to kill him because they can, because that's how it works. You're the fucking bard. You get killed if you bang my wife, and I don't get in trouble for doing so.
Exactly.
So that's why Geralt's there. He's there to be muscle for the man whore Dandelion, who's fucking excellent in this show.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the guy who playing Dandelion. I really like that dude. He's pulling it off. I'm like, it's perfect. He's even like a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Like, and he's sort of poncy and like self-important. Like, he's got that arrogance and that kind of like his posture and everything. I really I'm really digging like this guy.
But that's the thing about this scene. So Geralt has this long drawn out sequence where he's like eating with the queen, dining next to her, and then all of a sudden one of the knights walks into the room and he announces himself. I'm not sure what his name was.
He was from like a nowhere kingdom, but he's basically.
But he has his helmet on,
he's
and that's
Emir,
like the
and he
one
has.
thing.
So Emir Van Enries
This
is
scene,
like Ciri's
though,
dad.
this scene though is so dumb.
Yeah.
Okay, so he steps up.
Something was
She
missed.
demands to take his helmet off. He says he can't take it off until this certain specific time, and they freaking.
Because
she
he's
demands
under a
guards
night
take
code.
his helmet off. They rip his helmet off. He's a porcupine monster.
He looks
knight.
really silly.
Yeah.
That's
and
another
Geralt,
thing, like
all of a
that-
sudden, by magic or fucking Sherlock Holmes types of intelligence, is like, this isn't just like a creature. He's a knight. And he's a knight who's been cursed. And he's important right now.
Yeah,
I am
he
all of a
just
sudden
knew.
gonna fight all these guards and start killing the Cintran guards to fucking help defend this monster.
This random guy.
Like, it doesn't
That's
make
the thing,
sense
like,
at all.
I know, and I felt like that was out of character for Geralt. Like, don't get me wrong, Geralt will step in when it's right, but he's gonna make sure that he knows it's right. And maybe possibly in the books there was a better translation of events leading Geralt to have a better reason. Right. But in this, it's pretty much just upon you all of a sudden. Like,
right.
Geralt's
it's just like all of a sudden.
Geralt's like, no, this cute porcupine prick. He's a fucking knight, and
3 sentences of exposition about who this character is and why he's gonna fight with him.
I understand why he wouldn't kill him. Like, because the queen's telling him to kill him. I understand why Geralt wouldn't immediately kill the guy. But for him to then immediately side with the guy against the queen and
kill her
and start
guards.
killing her guards, like hardcore killing her guards, several of them, you know, it was like, okay, hold on. Like, that's a little sudden.
Right.
And that guy was silly.
Yes.
His design was silly looking, but apparently that's a mirror. And he had been cursed. And then later he changes his name, and I could be absolutely wrong. This is after just briefly consulting a wiki or some such thing on Google. But eventually, because of the prophecy concerning Ciri, where she's going to rule like the whole world or half the world or something, he wants to marry her. And that's why Nilfgaard is like pushing in, and it's because he wants to marry Ciri. And that's his daughter. And he's a sick prick.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate Emir, and I've always hated Emir. And, like, whenever I can give him the middle finger, I have. And I never understood why.
You, man.
I never knew
why he's such a dick.
But you could tell.
But they knew that he was a dick.
Yeah.
Like they
CDPR,
totally played him off.
Oh, yeah. Like, his
design,
his snide, smug-ass face.
The voice actor doing it.
They were like, you gotta bow to him. And it's like, dude, fuck you, man. Like, who the fuck are you? I'm Geralt of Rivia.
Yeah.
I don't bow to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's the thing. Like, I love that. Like, I was able to see that because of this, and that's the thing I really like, is it's gotten me, because I never really felt the need to research much more than outside the game. Like I say, like, legitimately just poring over those character entries and shit that they have in game. It's so expansive, and not only that, like the books found in game that explain in-universe things like how magic works, how witchers work, mutations, potions, the conjunction of the spheres. Like, there's all sorts of extra reading material that you can find in-game and take a look at if you're so inclined.
Right.
And, like, they actually made that easier. They have, like, a tab now that just, when you've collected a book and read it, it adds it to that tab now.
Right.
So, like, they've even made it easier since it first came out.
Yeah.
And so, like, that, I've always been super interested, and I like this because it's got me interested again, and I kind of want to replay the game, and I kind of, you know, like, it's got me more, it's just like,
it's a good show.
And it's because it's a good,
despite all of its flaws, which it does have flaws, which was what I was going to say earlier about the disjointed storyline. Can we talk about
how the Doppler can create clothes now?
Well, hang on. I want to talk about the disjointed storyline real quick. So, like, the Yennefer stuff is happening in the past. The Geralt stuff is happening, like, after that. And then the Ciri stuff is happening in the present.
No, the Geralt stuff is happening in the past, too. Because he's at that Badger's wedding before Ciri's born.
But he's working for Foltest.
It's not specifically anyone specifically taking place at any time. Ciri takes place in the future. The rest of it's happening before. Right.
But it's like showing the different
up.
Disjointed timeline, like I was saying. Like, it's showing him.
Geralt's not taking place in the present.
He's at like a party, and it's like Foltest, or he's working for Foltest, and then Yennefer's at that party, and it shows Foltest as a little kid.
But when he's at that wedding with Foltest, that's still before he even fucking meets Ciri.
Right.
Ciri's mom and
that
the
is
Badger.
Like way later.
So, like, So that's the thing. Can we talk about it's basically, but it does a good job where it shows you, like you're saying,
it shows you, it shows you that this is disjointed and it's all kind of happening in separate timelines. But it does a really good job by the end of it, catching you up on understanding where it's all together. And exactly.
And you can tell that this is just a build-up to like a more cohesive plot and like. Because the thing about this is, like you were saying, it's got Foltest and the Striga there. It's got Geralt. Like, I think what was he fighting at the beginning in Ekimura? He was fighting something at the beginning, But like, so like, there's him doing all these other, like, getting caught up in different things, meeting up with Dandelion, finally meeting Yennefer, showing how they meet with the Jinn, all this shit going on. Does the Jinn wish? And so it's like mostly disjointed stuff that's all going to come together with Ciri.
Right.
When Ciri gets involved. Because when Ciri gets involved, it's going to show him go to Kaer Morhen. It's going to show Vesemir. Yennefer will be around more.
Yep.
I'm not entirely certain about Triss, but I think Triss gets more involved in the story as it goes on. Dandelion, of course, is there. We still haven't been introduced to, what's his dwarf? The dwarf with the Zoltan. We still haven't been introduced to Zoltan, and I don't know if he's strictly to the games or not. I'm not sure. But
I think that we've seen Dudu though, which that's what you wanted to talk about.
Is that Dudu? I don't think that's Dudu.
I'm
that's
not
just
sure.
a Doppler.
I'm not sure. I just thought that it might have been because he had the slash across his face by the end of the show. I was like, that might be.
Ciri's hiding in these woods that are super magical, and they like have a hive mind with the water or something. But there's basically, it's very well fortified and it's choked in there. So, like, an army going in there against most of them were elven rebels, but if they went in there, they're going to get fucked up by them.
Right.
Like, it's the cost, like, you'll probably win in the end if you have sheer numbers, but the cost is not going to be worth it. So, in order to do a trick, the Nilfgaardian guy sends in a Doppler dressed as Mousekewitz.
Mousesack.
Mousekewitz.
Mousekewitz. But his name
so like the guy, when he first is talking to him, he's all like we and us and this like non-binary speak, and it's like, look, man, you don't have to say like it's like I say I.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I don't
you
care.
are still a singular fucking person.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude.
That
and
right
it's
there.
one of those
you
things
don't have
like,
to tie to a gender because technically a doppelganger can be whatever they want to at any time.
Yeah.
But it's not like there's more than one person inside of you.
Yeah, it's not like they're a split personality and they're like, we have this to say. Don't talk
happy.
to us that way.
Yeah.
It was like, that was super distracting and annoying. And then when he made himself into Mousesack, he like was able to recreate everything that Mousesack had. Why didn't he just recreate? He had his clothes now.
Yeah, he had his clothes and everything.
Why couldn't he just also conjure the queen's fucking, drape?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was she was handing, he had taken to hand to Ciri in order to gain her trust.
Right.
Like, why didn't he just create that? Because
Conjure
apparently
that,
he can conjure an entire outfit.
Every belonging of a person when he takes their identity.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's not how it fucking works. I'm pretty sure Dopplers still have to change clothes.
Yeah.
And shit if they fucking change.
If you change...
If not, that's kind of a dumb fucking ability they have. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Right.
But they can also conjure an outfit along with their clothes.
Conjure
that's
entire
like 90s X-Men morph shit.
Entire personal belongings.
Yeah.
Like what? You have everything in his pocket too? What the fuck?
Yeah, dude. Like, why couldn't you yeah, exactly. And why not do his anyway? And also all their thoughts and stuff, which was cool. I liked how they described
the thoughts
that.
was like that in the games and the books.
Yeah, they're able to like adopt everything that person knows or anything like that.
But it's within a certain time frame, so older memories, it's harder. They don't know about those. You know what I mean?
But it's an awesome universe and a great show, and I personally really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was definitely worth the. How long is it? It's only like 9 hours or something.
I think it's 8 hours.
Is it 8 episodes?
8 episodes.
Yeah, it's pretty short, and they've already said they're gonna do more, and I really hope they do. I really like the standouts to me are like Yennefer, Geralt, and Dandelion. Those are the ones that stand out foremost among them. Ciri is really good, but I don't think she was given enough stuff.
Right.
Like, she didn't really... Well, she was kind of on the run, and there was more focus on, like, the people she was around and the things going on there, less than on her. Like
as a character.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, like, there's the whole Mousesack betrayal that involves Ciri, but a huge part of, like, the show is pointing at he's a Doppler. There's the whole build up to him. It's more about him. And she's in the woods to escape, and it's more of a build up about these elven rebels and this tree and the stuff they drink, and it cleanses your mind and all this shit, makes you forget your past and all this stuff. And it's not really about Ciri.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, like, I felt like that was another problem, is Ciri felt like she was mainly caught up in stuff that they wanted to show us, less than they wanted to show us her caught up in stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was essentially just, fuck, we need something happening to her before her and Geralt meet up. But we're also showing all this side stuff in the past with Yennefer and Geralt at the same time. So it just felt like the entire events of Ciri. That's why when you first meet Ciri, the event where the Sintra is getting taken over by Nilfgaard.
It's even like that's like it's overshadowed by the Queen, who was excellent. The actress, she was also a standout in the little bit that she was in the show. Mm-hmm. But like it was more about her. It was more about the Skellige guy dying. It was more about like that stuff,
right?
Less than Ciri.
These events that
that's
were
what I'm
happening
saying. Like
to Ciri.
Everything that was like Ciri's entire storyline throughout this felt like they were showing us stuff that didn't have to do with Ciri.
Right.
Like, it involved Ciri, but it didn't have to do with her as she is. Except for the point, and that was when it was really awesome, when the slimy fucker was going to take her and give her to the Nilfgaardians, and she lost her shit, and she, like, was pretty much possessed. Yeah, and it showed that. It zoomed out later, and it showed that it had blasted out from her, and it's kind of showing you a bit of that power she has.
Right.
That was, like, what I wish there had been more focus on, is, like, her, like, because it just felt like she was basically, like, I don't know.
Just a character that was put in the show because Ciri is a character and they have to do it. And
well, no, I think that
that's the thing.
It was just this perspective of the show shouldn't have been so much importance with these elves and like the water. And if you're going to do that, do a better job of portraying Ciri caught up in those things and her decisions. Because then there's also her friend, the elven kid, who saves her. There's that kid going on, and there's a whole like where his people was fucked over by her grandma.
Right.
So there's that, and that's drawing attention to him. Not Ciri, that's drawing attention to him, because his family was fucking murdered. His fucking people were, and fuck your grandma. So you get a little bit of like, okay, so she is like starting to understand that like the being, like she was sheltered and like especially, but it culminates in that moment when the kid that she would play bones with in the streets was willing to sell her out to Nilfgaardians.
Yeah.
Where it was like someone she genuinely thought gave a shit is now like, no, fuck you. Like, so she's starting she's starting to realize that she can't really trust anyone and that she's not equipped and she needs to get equipped. And like, that's what I hope going forward they focus on with Ciri.
Right.
Is show us her becoming the badass. Because Yennefer, I feel like we kind of already missed that. And like, we missed that in The Witcher, the game. Like, my introduction to Yennefer, she was already full-blown, confident, fucking sex goddess, sorceress elite. Right. You know what I mean? Like, she's pulling people from the dead in necromancy that's forbidden, and like, she's doing all sorts of stuff in the game. She's not really got you're not seeing her like having to test the extent of her abilities so much, except for on the Djinn, which is an incredibly tough fight, which pushes Geralt's abilities too. But my only point is that with her, I wish they would have shown us more of that arc of her gaining the power and becoming the sorceress, because I feel like it was just almost immediately upon us. Like, where it's time for you to go and you're going to be an ambassador now, because the sorceresses kind of have their tendrils out. The what is it? The Lodge? I don't even know if it's the Lodge or if the Lodge is established later. Right. But whatever it is, the power of Aretuza, the magical power of the humans, they have their people basically in every kingdom, and they're kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes, you know, and kind of just basically trying to work peaceful things and things like that out. And it felt like she was just, it went from like a little bit of that romance with that guy and a couple of failed attempts, and then bam, she's badass sorceress. She fixes the way she looks, and now she's just like, she's the Yen that you know, guys. Here she is, the Yen that you know. And I felt like I wish that they would have dwelt more on the magical training.
Right.
Like her learning and becoming better at that.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall though, I'd still recommend it. Like you were saying, what are your options? Are you gonna go watch fucking Game of Thrones again, knowing how it ends?
And I mean, even with these elements being sort of rushed and kind of just being forced onto the screen with the runtime that they have, it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the end of it because, okay, so the very first episode is Geralt, Ciri, then the second one's Yennefer, and like you were just saying, that whole thing's rushed. It's like by episode 4, she's sexy, gone through Ascension,
and she's already
a sorceress,
becoming a powerful.
Exactly, and then by episode like 5 or 6, she's already meeting up with Geralt and the Djinn.
And we get to see a little bit of like her regret at not being able to have children anymore, and how that's something she wanted. But that comes along really sudden.
That kind of happens way later. That happens after the Djinn when they're going for the dragon.
Yeah. Well, they're attacking. So that's the dragon shit was later. That was after the Djinn.
The dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it happened with the Djinn, though, because that's kind of why she wanted its power.
The dragon? She wanted the Djinn's power. Was that what it was?
Because,
or did she just want its power?
I thought she wanted...
At that point, did she just want to be its vessel so she could have extra power?
Either that or to fix her womb. Either way.
Right.
But the dragon was 100%
Yeah, exactly. That's why she was interested in the
And
dragon.
that, like, kind of happened... That's why I said it happens all of a sudden.
That was an interesting story, but
later.
Can we just talk about how that dragon's a bitch? And then all of a sudden he's not, and he blasts some dude in fire, and you're like, really? You needed Geralt to help protect you?
You really...
Like, why didn't you just
hold
blast
them
you needed
out
to get
of...
Yennefer here too?
Yeah.
What? Why didn't you just do a fire cone, dude? Bam, they're all dead. You're breathing hot fire.
And dragons can be humans now, and humans can be dragons?
And I don't know, that's kind
interesting.
That's something that's
cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I liked it. I definitely recommend it.
Fuck it,
why not?
Too.
Everyone has Netflix anyway. You might as well fucking watch it.
Oh, yeah.
There is some sexy stuff, and I felt like some of it was a little over the top and unneeded.
Right.
Like the part where Yennefer was just making everyone have an orgy for no fucking reason.
For no reason.
Just because I guess it displays us that, like, she likes to watch orgies, but really...
She likes that.
Like, yeah, and like then she like lets them all go. It was just like they didn't even want to be fucking each other, and there's just this scene where Yennefer's making them orgy. And if that's in the book, whatever. I feel like that was a little over the top.
A little weird.
I didn't mind the love making between her and the romance with that guy at the beginning.
Istrad?
Istrad
was
well,
his
he
name?
like saved her too. He like sent her back to her farm because he knew that
the sorcerer.
Yeah, the sorceress was coming.
Yeah.
So that sex scene wasn't over the top. Geralt and her sex scene was actually very tasteful because it was like so heated they didn't even unclothe. Like, and I feel like that was the one thing I always really liked about the Witcher game. Like the sex scenes, they didn't feel like they were there to be like just over the top. They were there to supplement the romance that's happening, because if you're going to do it, you may as well do it right. None of this fucking like Fallout 4 shit where they're like, oh, well, the modders will put it in. And then the modders throw in hardcore fucking
sex
yeah,
scenes.
and really it's just like, man, maybe you could have just done a tasteful little fucking cutscene with the player character and Piper.
Exactly.
Like the way The Witcher does.
Exactly.
And so that's like, I feel like that's something they need to try not to do. And I feel like it's probably some producers who are like, yeah, but Game of Thrones have kicked cocks and tits everywhere. You know, we need more cocks and tits in this shit.
Game of Thrones nudity is not classy nudity.
That's the thing.
Some of it is, some of it is not.
Yes, at all.
And you need to be able to tell the difference between classy and not classy.
It's just there to be because, like, we got nudity here.
Yeah.
So we know that there's some fucking dumbasses
this is
in the audience that are loving this show.
We gotta meet our quota. Yeah. Fucking.
We gotta throw 7 more dicks and 8 more sets of tits in this.
Yep.
Like, and it's like at a certain point, it's like, okay, does it serve the story? All right. Does it serve the characters within the story? Is it serve the plot? Does it matter? And I feel like that point, like having her just sitting there, basically mind controlling an entire like group of people, forcing them to do that. It could have been anything else.
Yeah.
It could have been she's just forcing them to dance like fools or something else. And then she says, because it does service the plot, because she says it doesn't work on you. Because she's fucking trying to work the spell on Geralt. He has natural immunity to it because he is a Witcher. He is a mutant. So, like, he has an immunity to it. So it does serve that point to, like, oh, she knows he's different now. Oh, she's interested now because he is unique. And we know Yen is going to love unique things over boring, plain, samey shit. And so, yeah, it does kind of serve it, but it could have been just as easily something else. And I know that there are some people that I personally know, family members, who were driven away from those types of scenes. It isn't the lovemaking between lovers. It isn't that. It's not that stuff. It's stuff like that where it's just blatant. Let's have a room full of people fucking.
Yep.
You know? Like, and I felt like that was over the top. Call me prudish or whatever, but I feel at a certain point, like, it's just like...
It's not anything that bothers me, but
like
I can
Spartacus.
tell why it bothers other
like,
people.
Spartacus just has so much shit.
There's some of that shit that I thought was tasteful, but overall, that a large majority of the nudity within that show bothered me.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was also the intention because it's these slaves being forced to fuck for the amusement of these masters. So it's like... And it's supposed to give off that feel of, whoa, this is fucked up.
And it's
you know what I mean?
And it's showing you the time frame too, because it is like taking, like when Badiatus and his wife is just like, he starts banging the one and she like makes the other one start playing with her.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And it's because, and they're just having a regular conversation back and forth.
Yeah. Like they're talking about
couple,
some random
like any
shit.
couple would have at the end of the day.
Yeah, but
like it's just normal that this is happening. And
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Does it serve a purpose, or is it just there to be over the top?
Right.
And like, I think there's a fine line, and I think that, like, I hope that there isn't a drive to include more things like that just to apply to the fucking, you know, the
morons.
The moron in all of us, because I'm not gonna lie, like, I enjoy the way naked women look. But when it's in that, it's like, I feel like just make it like there's a place for that.
Right.
Right? There's porn for that. We don't need softcore dumb shit. Like, you know, there's softcore porn for that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if you want to make a better quality softcore porn, then just do that. And I feel like that's basically what some of these have done. Like, Spartacus is like a fucking, that would have been softcore porn when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, that's like Skinamax shit, dude. But anyway, I still recommend it. I just wanted to bring that up because I had a conversation with one of my sisters who was unable to get into this universe and this story because of that. It was specifically that scene, because that is a very over-the-top scene, and that's going to drive your audience away. And that's another risk that you have to consider. Is it worth having that spectacle of all these people under Yennefer's mind control being fucked? Is it worth it having that scene at the expense of what could be audience members walking away from that point and getting disinterested in the show and not wanting to ever go back to it?
Right.
Like, would it not be better to have tasteful sex scenes so that you still have those in there? And that's like, because there's nothing like that in The Witcher 3. There's no scene. I mean, there's some over-the-top scenes, but they are awesome. It's like the witches of the bog. When you walk in and they're all naked and covered in blood, and like you can tell that, like, but even there, it's not like there's an orgy going on.
It's not like
it's like, I feel like CDPR
overtly sexualized.
I feel like
scene.
CDPR should be what you're looking towards for inspiration, less than a Game of Thrones, less than like a adult fantasy from another people. Like, look at what CDPR has done, because I think they've managed it perfectly. I think the nudity is tasteful and it serves a purpose for the better story. It serves the characters, and I feel like that really didn't serve Yen. I didn't feel like that didn't serve Geralt. I feel like that didn't serve anyone except for the horny dipshit in the audience.
Yeah.
Who was like, oh, I love tits in my show. It's like, I do too, but I like it when it's like I said, like I like the sex scene between Yen, or when Yen was getting in the bath with him. Like, that whole scene was
when the
awesome.
Context fits the nudity.
Yes!
When it's not like, we're going to have a random conversation, we better take our tops off.
And the way that they shot the whole bathtub
let's
scene
get
was really
absolutely
cool.
nude for these random events.
Yeah. But then that's the thing. Like, I just wanted to bring that up because they did lose audience members with that.
Yeah.
So, but that's it for me. I mean, I'm pretty much spent on it.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Let us know down below if Dopplers can create clothes.
Personal belongings?
Or shawls to trick little girls with. Out of the fucking elven woods.
Out of thin fucking air.
Yeah, dude.
Just here.
That's what I was like, why wouldn't it have been cool if, like, because it shows, they take the time to show the scene of him pulling the scarf out. Like, you may as well take the time to show the scene of him undress the dude. Like, show him up, start unbuttoning him. I'm gonna need these too. Cut away. Bam! You know, like, have him still wearing the same stuff he was wearing before they caught him.
Yeah,
like,
have him, like, undress him, and then reach in his pocket and show that to the Nilfgaardian commander and be like...
distracting. The Neckers were, and if those are Alguls or ghouls, whatever, but they still, like, to me, they looked like some hacky producer's idea of what a zombie monster should be. That's what they looked like to me. I wasn't really impressed with them. The dragon was, it looked a little cheap, but in the context of the show, I really didn't much care for the dragon because I didn't understand why he was so ineffective and why he needed Geralt. And I mean, that may just be something that's more expanded upon more in the books. But to me, like, the show, I was just like, why'd the fucking dragon need Geralt and Yennefer? You just blast them. Yeah. But overall, I liked the way it looked. I liked there were a lot of, like, scenic shots of, like, the backgrounds were, like, just gorgeous fantasy settings with, like, these crazy odd architecture stuff. Like, I really dug the atmosphere there. I loved, like, when it was anything to do with, like, pubs or towns or anything like that. Everyone looked real good. I didn't mind the way the Nilfgaardian armor looked. It was just like, it just looked like ruffled.
Yeah.
It just, whatever. That was a huge thing.
Ruffles have ridges.
Yeah. And ridges are good because you eat them.
And ridges are Nilfgaardians.
You dip them in ranch. And good. Good ruffles.
Von Emery's is a weird fuck.
Yeah. Fucking incest, dude. What the fuck is it with all these royals and fucking incest back in the day or in made up fiction?
Fucking...
You know it's in there because it was legit. Like, that was royalty back in the day. Like, they would marry their own fucking kids and shit. Because fucking fuck humanity.
Keep the blood pure.
Keep the blood pure. That's it for us, Jax
Chubbz.
Till next time, stay awesome. Let us know down below what you thought of The Witcher. Would you recommend it? Or would you say you guys are fucking stupid and we hate you? But I know you wouldn't say that because you guys are the shit. Especially if you're still here, because this is a long-ass video. Anyway, take care, everybody.